universe.
And welcome back into the Two Balls on the Mic studio, brought to you in part by San Diego Football. Everything San Diego football related on there. We're going to get right to it. We're going to continue our project of talking and checking in with Team 1 players for San Diego Loyal. And what a treat. First time on the podcast. We're just chatting about how it's the first time that we're going to have him on. Alan Underwood has, of course, already spoken to him on the Fair Weather podcast. But without further ado, we want to bring on the great center midfielder, your San Diego Loyal Centurion player, Mr. Collin Martin. Collin, how are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me. Sorry, it's been a long time coming, but glad we could sit down and talk a little bit.
Absolutely. And I mean, again, it's been a long 4 years here, sometimes longer than others. First year, obviously, everything that went through the creation of San Diego Loyal and the trials and tribulations that led everybody to really endear themselves to this team. But just get us started. I mean, if you want to just go to the memory bank and just kind of put us in a place where Collin Martin was before San Diego Loyal, as you're finding out about this team coming together here in the USL Championship in San Diego, and who Collin was at that time.
Yeah, Collin was a player that desperately wanted to make an impact, that was coming from the MLS after 7 seasons, I think, of not playing a ton of games. So I felt like I really had a chip on my shoulder. I was humble because I knew that the USL was a hard league and that I was going to take everything from me to be able to perform well, and to be able to carve out a spot for me on a team that was as competitive as San Diego was going to be. And it's a place that I kind of sought out when I realized that, the USL might be the best option for me moving forward for my career. And so this was the only place I wanted to go to. And fortunately, it worked out between my agent and Landon. And but I had to work for it, because there was from the first year, it's not like they were handing out contracts that were extremely let's say sought after financially, so it was definitely I came here to try to fight to play, but also enjoy my life outside of soccer.
Yeah, so you come into the San Diego first. Was it your first time when you got signed in 2020? Was your first time in San Diego, and how did you first like it?
Yeah, I think I'd been to San Diego twice before. Once, the first time was for Surf Cup when I was maybe 10 years old. And then the second time, I went to go visit my sister, who lives here and will hopefully live here for the rest of her life. And that was back in like 2014, when I was honestly right before I was about to have a surgery when I was playing for DC United.
Yeah, I mean, again, the careers of some of these players, including you, Collin, just from every which way, and sometimes you forget, right? Like, the athlete goes through these challenges and going through surgeries and going through minor procedures. Those still hurt.
Yeah.
And it's great to be able to find yourself in a place where it's new, but it's still very, very solid to land on. Alan?
Yeah, so I think a lot of people, when looking at San Diego Loyal, how they play, will target the relationship you had with Charlie Adams on the pitch as being very influential and very solid. And, I think I wrote a piece about how it's kind of the engine that runs San Diego Loyal and kind of Nate Ball. How soon did you build that relationship? And was it something you looked at early on as like, hey, this is working out well? Or is it kind of like a slow burn that just kind of over time developed?
Yeah, I think it helps that we see the game similarly, and And then I think in terms of communication, we communicate in very similar ways as well. And so I think in terms of our understanding of the game together, and then just communicating on and off the field, I think that's helped us a lot. I know that I try to play to Charlie's strengths and try to help him out in certain ways that I feel like I can. And one of the ways that he helps me a ton is by communicating constantly with me, and then also picking me up when he feels like I might need a little a boost. So, but yeah, in terms of like actual football side of things, I mean, we see the game in the same way, and we like to play, and we like to play quote unquote beautiful soccer. So it's definitely been fun to play with him over the past 4 years, and yeah, I'm gonna miss it. So
I mean, and obviously we're speaking in this terms of like we're gonna miss this, we're gonna miss that. In the beginning, it was very curious again to see how Landon's style, but ultimately Nate. We've been covering
Yeah.
this team for a while, right? It's one of those things where it was very unique, and like any teams, any type of practices, there'd be tiffs here and there, and I was privileged to be able to go over to the Olympic Training Center, and you and Nate did have discussions, and sometimes, there was that frustration, but I would see the work and diamonds cutting diamonds because what was practiced, maybe discussed, maybe disagreed upon,
yeah,
the next game it was there, and that's a
yeah.
testament to yourself, to the coaching style. What do you think that is thanks to?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first things that Nate and Landon told me when I was first talking with them is that they wanted a midfielder to be able to play in a lot of different systems and to be flexible, and a player that can play on both sides of the ball, but also play in different positions. And I think in my first season, uh, it was tough for me to find my perfect position. So I was playing as an advanced player. I was playing as like an eight. I was playing as the right side of a diamond at times, and then eventually a six, and just like a natural 6 or 8. But yeah, I think part of what's been special is that they've challenged me in a lot of different ways to grow, and um, to add to different parts of my game, and so I give Nate a lot of credit for pushing me in a lot of different ways, and making me a better player.
No, and I mean, you talk about uh, Colin, that was prior before Sandy Lowe was a player that wanted to make an impact, right? You come into this team 4 years, 3, 4 years later. Do you feel like now you've made that impact in this team and in this community?
I mean, yeah, I think so. Just in terms of being one of the first year guys, and going through this season that we've had, I can look back and be really proud of um, the fact that the guys that have been here have really tried to right the ship during really uncertain times, and it hasn't been easy. But like looking back on it, and being where we're at now, I think there's a lot to be proud of, and I think it speaks volumes of the guys that have been here for a while. Um, and I think the one of the things that we've really tried to do is to sincerely make the people proud of uh, of of us on the way out. So that we obviously we have a time frame where it's shortened, and we know that it's going to end for sure, and we try to use that to our advantage just by showing everyone that how much we care.
Yeah, you mentioned like early on a little bit more in offensive places, um, and maybe not as successful as maybe some of the later years in San Diego Loyal, but I think Tony played one of your goals against Oakland where you like kicked it through the back of the net. The one the other day where you got to celebrate with your family at home. Like your goals have been few and far between because you've been a six for most of the past couple of years, but
Yeah.
when you do score, they are very memorable. Um, like what have those goals meant to you, knowing that you were, you're playing in this more defensive role, but you're still able to have some of these great memories on the pitch that I think a lot of fans, I'm sure you, but a lot of fans also like can remember that Oakland goal and remember, this nice emphatic goal where you got to celebrate with your family.
Which Oakland goal, Alan? There's been multiples.
Oh yeah, because you've only scored against Oakland. But
yeah. Well, hopefully I'll save one for this Saturday as well.
There you go.
No, I mean, I've been happy to serve the team in different ways, and I've happened to be playing in a deeper lying position. But yeah, I would have liked to have scored more, but when I have, they've been special goals, of course. That Oakland goal definitely is my favorite. I don't think I'll score one just like that. And yeah, I mean, depending on a different team or how if things would have gone differently, maybe I would have played in more advanced roles. But yeah, I just happy to contribute a goal every once in a while when I can.
And I mean, you've played with a lot of different players. Again, being one of those Team One members is an exclusive club, but you've also seen a lot of transition, a lot of different play styles playing alongside you. Who have been your favorite partners? I mean, obviously you mentioned Charlie, right? But what are some other players that you really enjoyed your time on the pitch with, and maybe learned some things from as well? And overall as well, like who are the pals? Like we always knew back in the day, right? It was Morgan and Ben Spencer. Like those two were super homies. But like who's that for Collin?
Yeah, obviously Morgan's my roommate and has been someone. He's actually yelling at me right now, telling me, "Hey, Morgs, I'm actually doing a podcast."
He'll be on.
Yeah, he'll be on Thursday.
It's okay.
He's on
I'll
Thursday.
come on down in a sec. Yeah,
he's on Thursday.
He's on
so
Thursday. He's yelling at me. I think he knew what I was doing. But no, he's been here through it all for me, and it's been really special to have a roommate just to go through it all the ups and downs with. And this year, I mean, other than the year one guys, Evan and Cam, super close to them. And but in the past, like a Chase Boone comes to mind. I really enjoyed my time with him. But Miguel Ibarra, that was special because we were former teammates, and I really enjoyed playing with him again. But in terms of on the fields, it will always be special to be reunited with Guido as well, because we knew each other since we were 14 years old. And I really enjoyed playing with him. And when it was just me and him at times in the midfield, I think we understood each other's games well, and we complement each other's well too. So I've always enjoyed playing with him. And but yeah, we had some special players throughout the years. I mean, Miguel Berry was fun to play with. I saw Rubio's assist last night. He was fun to play with the first season. Yeah, I said Miguel, but like Thomas and Bass, of course, up front. I miss them a ton, and Josh Yarrow. That's a big name that he was just like a top teammate. So yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Now you talked about
Toomey. I don't think Toomey gets enough love. But it just in terms of playing a ton with him and just being every day at training with him and just a joy to be around and work with, and just a great teammate as well.
And you mentioned before, obviously, in the interviews and stuff, the culture of San Diego Loyal, right? We all know that what they stand for is something that we all should be standing up for. With new players coming in throughout the years, has it been difficult, or is it always usually pretty smooth for the players to adapt to the culture that the team has?
Yeah, I think, I give the players a lot of credit for in the first two seasons, we had a ton of loans, a ton of in and out in terms of players. And I think we had a healthy competition in training, but in terms of accepting players into the locker room, and we've just had to. There's no other way around it. And I think we've really created something special in terms of just allowing people to be themselves, and if they're here to help the group and enjoy getting to know the people around them, then and training and playing hard, then we've accepted everyone. So I think that's definitely a testament to a lot of the players that have been here, and I think it's been a place that a lot of people have enjoyed playing over the years.
Alan?
Yeah, when you take, 5-10 years from now, when you're looking back on your time in San Diego, like what do you hope like Collin Martin's legacy is to like the San Diego community and like in general, but also like, soccer and in general? What are you hoping that you leave behind
Yeah.
community?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the great story that came of that first year of us walking off the field, I think that will be one of the most memorable moments for myself. And ultimately, like I've said a ton, it was a really hard personal moment, but it was completely overshadowed by the fact that my teammates and my coach and my owner and the team in general supported me. And that was the ultimate message, was that there are people that are going to be out there to support you and help you along the way when something really awful happens to you. It doesn't matter if it's just what it is. So that's something that I feel really proud of, that there was a message there that this team portrayed, and it wasn't just that moment. There's other moments where this team has really stood for something bigger beyond just the game and playing itself. And so I hope that the people that showed up to Torero every week, that they felt really safe and comfortable, and they felt like that it was a place for everyone, and it was a family atmosphere, and I got the sense of that, and it's always been a place where I've felt really comfortable, and I hope fans and people that were traveling to watch us play felt the same.
Something that I just, always kind of, whenever given the appropriate opportunity is just stating that Alan and I were one of the 5-6 people that were in the stadium for that game.
Mm.
And I think you'd agree, Alan, like it was one of those moments where I've never seen anything like that in professional sports. And the moment that happened, I got cold, because I knew there was something happening that was
Yeah.
so much bigger than anybody there. With everything going on, there was nobody there because there was still high pandemic. And I think, just a chance to, just as a San Diegan, just thank you for having that be a representation of the city, is something that will forever be with me. And I'm getting goosebumps now, man. Like, it's something that I will forever be thankful for you, and as you mentioned, your teammates. And I mean, it's what is that relationship like between now, some time removed, and being Collin Martin the player, and also being Collin Martin the advocate, the face of some of these campaigns at times, where I remember there was a time this season during St. Patrick's Day, they rolled out Cam Riley out there, and you were like, why do they gotta put the poor guy on there? It's like when they roll me over in a Pride Month. Like, why can't I be the
Yeah.
spokesman for something else? Like, what is that relationship like with handling all these things? Because honestly, it's one of those things where nobody else can know what your shoes feel like at any given time.
Yeah. I think whenever I think that, oh, I've done enough, or I don't need to do this pride video, and I don't need to do wearing a pride jersey, what does it really mean to me now? Whenever I think that there's not an impact being made, and I'm wrong. So I throughout my career, I've been lucky to have had very special moments to remind me of not only my impact, but the impact that allies have, the impact that teams have in creating culture and driving the sport forward. There's still a ton of work to do. And yeah, I might joke every once in a while that, I don't want to have to be the one that always does the pride video, or what does a pride armband really mean? that there's always going to be those questions, but there's been so many moments throughout my career that have reminded me why I do it. And even still now, I mean, I'll tell you a little story today. We were doing a little promo for the game this weekend in the city, and hopefully Stoney doesn't mind me saying this, but he happened to be wearing. We all were wearing a different kit. I was wearing the blue kit, and Stoney was wearing the Pride kit. And some guy drove by, put his window down, and said, "Oh, I know who the gay one is," and drove off. And I think it was just another reminder. I looked over to Charlie and I said, "You know that happens all the time, right?" And he was immediately disgusted and sick to his stomach. But the reality is that those types of little hyper microaggressions and plain homophobia happen all the time. My boyfriend was in the stands this past weekend, and he hasn't told me the full story because he was on the plane today. But he told me that one of the fans right behind him kept on saying, "Who's that gay? Who's the gay player?" to his wife, and maybe he said a couple other different things. I'm not sure, but I think it was just as simple as, "Who's the gay player?" And at the end of the game, when I was walking over to see my family and to see my boyfriend, he says, "That's the gay player, and he's my boyfriend." So it's just little stuff that still happen, and those are just silly little examples of different ways that I'm reminded of the importance of my visibility, importance of still talking about these things, making space for people that have a lot worse than me. And it's something that I will never stop doing, even when I'm done playing.
No, and I mean, with you sharing all that, no, thank you for sharing all that, because I mean, at the end of the day, that's little things like that should also be addressed. You know, it's always a serious thing. But what is something that you would feel the San Diego community has also taught you?
Turn on the lights. 1 second.
No, you're good. You're good.
I just realized I'm like dark.
Gonna get a follow up real quick.
Sorry about that.
No,
No
you're
worries.
good. Sorry, I was gonna
Yeah, go
brutally
ahead. Tony,
interrupt
go
you
ahead.
because I just wanted a quick follow up to that. Right, like again, it's incredibly important that message and the fact that you are persevering, moving through. But what are some things that you feel that Collin Martin can be also a spokesman for? Like, what other things do you like? Are you really into pizzas? I mean, talking back to Jake Fellinson, right, goalkeeper in the Team One first game. He was a wine guy. Like, you know, that's him. Like, that's who he is. But is there anything else that for you, like, you'd kind of like, hey man, I'd be appreciative if maybe this was highlighted a little bit more. Maybe this side of my personality was highlighted more. This other side of who I am is
Oh,
more
okay.
out.
I think I know what you're trying to say. No, I mean, yeah, I think that's always been something that I've been uh, keen to show people, that I'm more than just a gay soccer player. Um, I I felt like I've showed that I'm a very good soccer player on the field, and I don't want to just be referred to as just the gay soccer player. And um, but yeah, there's obviously, we're all so much more than just uh, one or two things that might define us, and we all have so many interests, and I think that's the point, is that we, we don't need to just be defined by one thing, and there's so much that makes up a person. But to I don't know, to give you a specific thing, is I really like art, and I think
Ooh.
that sets me apart on the team. And that's a love of mine, and something that I might uh, want to do at post playing. I don't know what, maybe like a curator or a collector. I don't know what exactly, but
All right, I'm about to hijack this. All right, so we're talking post impressionism. We're talking like blue area Picasso. We're talking like architecture, Gothic
love
cathedrals.
impressionism,
Love
all
it.
different types of modern art, contemporary pop art. Um, yeah, I just bought a photography 1930s old Ventura Highway piece up in La Jolla this week, which I'm glad we've been winning, because those win bonuses are helping.
Man.
But yeah,
Such a
I've
reality. Such a reality that you don't even
Like,
think of.
it makes me
yeah.
makes me wish I would have taken AP Art History in high school.
I got a 5 on the APR history test. That's why we're having this
Yeah.
conversation, Colin.
So, Colin, I want to ask, like, what in your time here, what's something you feel like you've learned or that the San Diego community has taught you?
Mm, that's a good question. What have I learned? Um, in terms of history, I really like history. So I learned about the Kumeyaay native people that first lived in the area of San Diego. And when I went to uh, down to Old Town, I got a really, really cool history lesson by one of the park rangers there, and told me about Mission Bay and the river that went all the way up to the mountains and what's it called in where they make the in Julian.
Julian, yep.
Yeah. So and just like the landscape of San Diego and just the history of the native people and the Mexican American War. And for me, it's special to understand the history and the context of a place that I live in, and so I've enjoyed that. But yeah, in terms of a personal thing that I've learned, um, I mean, I think it was striking to move to San Diego during a pandemic, and I was so grateful for natural beauty and nature uh, to, for a break during like a really really tough time. And so I think wherever I live for the rest of my life, I want to make sure that there's some type of natural grounding and escape that I can have. So whether that's the beach or even just me and Morgan used to go on long runs near the Olympic Training Center with those beautiful mountains there, and just there's so many special places in San Diego.
Love that. Alan?
Yeah, I guess, reflecting, since we're reflecting on lessons learned and stuff, like, is there any highlights that are special to you on the pitch besides, obviously, you talked about that one particular game, but like for you, like as a personal and professional soccer player, like, is there anything that, as far as the way you played the game, that you can look back on and think about some special moments on the pitch?
Yeah, I think a lot of the road victories come to mind. Um, the in particular um, the Phoenix away last year, and or was it this year? Was it this year when Guido scored the? Was that this year when Guido scored that banger? I think that was last year, right?
Last year.
I think so.
Was that this year or last year?
It's funny
I don't
because
even know.
the Phoenix games have been so early in the season both years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, that game in particular, but yeah, just a lot of the away games. The Colorado one when we came back last year down a man. Obviously this year we had a really really fun game there as well. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what I'm gonna remember most, like in terms of a team, is just like honestly the stuff outside of the game too, like the nights out, the times at Cross Festival with my teammates, and yeah, over the years we've had some really special nights as a team bonding.
And I mean, obviously, with the announcement with the team being in this last season, I know the main focus has been on finishing and making the best of it with this season, but you're also a professional soccer player. You, in the back of your mind, with your agent, there has to be something that you're like, okay, so what's next? So what would be next for Collin Martin?
Yeah, still trying to figure it out. I've tried to respect the process and tried to respect that most of my energy is all right here and in these games and this season. And I've tried to focus on one game to the next, and hopefully letting the body of work speak for itself, but yeah, I'm hoping to continue playing and hopefully for a team that likes to have the ball and likes to play, and a good organization that I feel like a professional in, and I say that because I feel like there's still some places in the league that do it better than others. But yeah, we definitely want to continue to play, and hopefully at the best way to get another job is to do well at your current one.
I like that. No, everything's a interview in a sense from here on out. Again, thank you, Collin, for your time. I have one last question, kind of to take us home, and we'll stick around for a little follow up right after. But what are 3 words that you would say encompass your time in San Diego Loyal that can either be on field, off the field? Just 3 words that come to mind that, looking back at it, those are just pillars of your experience here with San Diego Loyal.
Hmm. 3 words. That's tough, to be honest. But I'll give you this. Yeah, I can give you 3 words, but just the amount of personal growth that I've made, like in terms of realizing my impact on the group, and realizing how important it is for me to show up every day in a good way. That's something I've learned. And then I've refound my love for the game over these past couple of years. And then third, like I just said, like my time with my teammates, and going out and having special moments on the field, but off the field as well.
Really love that. And again, Team One player, you've been about it since the first day, and I think just on the field, we've really enjoyed what you have on the X's and O's on that pitch. So again, any team is going to be lucky to have you, Collin. Again,
Appreciate it.
really appreciate your time. We're going to go ahead and cut it here. Thank you guys for listening. Just stick around, Collin, when we'll do a little bit of wrap up.
Okay, cool.